I wish I could blame it on being tipsy, overwhelmed, or pressured. But the truth is far more uncomfortable than any excuse. I knew exactly what I was doing the night I crossed a line I can never uncross. It didn't happen in shadows, and it didn't begin with some dramatic temptation. It grew quietly, slowly, in places I didn't pay attention to until it was too late. It began with being noticed. Not the kind of notice where someone asks how work was, but the kind where they ask how you're holding up. The kind that pays attention to details, the kind that makes you feel visible in ways you didn't even realize you'd been missing. My boyfriend Mark is a good man. Steady to the core, dependable, always thinking years ahead, believing love means loyalty and showing up every day. But even strong relationships can weaken when comfort turns into emotional distance, when predictability becomes feeling unseen. It wasn't about desire. It wasn't about looking for romance. It was about finally feeling understood. His name was Ethan. Not a mysterious stranger, just a colleague. Ordinary but attentive. He listened without rushing to respond. He noticed when I changed something small, when I seemed tired, when I wasn't myself. Slowly, without either of us announcing it, without meaning to, he became the person I turned to when I didn't know how to describe what I felt. And eventually, the moment I always told myself would never happen, happened. Not in a burst of passion, not in some forbidden thrill, but in a quiet, familiar way, like something that had started long before it ever became physical. When I told him I had a boyfriend, he didn't back away. He just said, "I know." And that simple acknowledgement was the real danger. It wasn't a fling. It was emotional before anything ever crossed the line. The night I finally made the worst decision of my life, I felt alive in a way I hadn't for months. And right after, guilt hit me so hard it hollowed me out. When I got home, Mark hugged me with complete trust, warm, familiar, and suddenly suffocating because I knew what I had just destroyed. I didn't admit anything right away. But the distance showed. Guilt rewrites your behavior. Or maybe it simply exposes it. A week later, Mark saw everything I was trying so hard to hide. The way I smiled at my phone. The name Ethan on my screen. The shift in my energy. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse me. He just asked, "Do I need to be worried?" That question shattered me because it came from fear, not anger. A fear I had created. I confessed. Quietly. Brokenly. Words trembling out of my mouth like they hurt us both. Mark didn't yell or call me names. He just stared at me like he was trying to figure out when we stopped being us. Then he said the one thing that determined everything going forward, "Block him." And I said the most devastating words I've ever spoken. "I can't. It's complicated." I didn't realize in that moment that I wasn't talking about Ethan. I was talking about myself. "It's complicated" meant I didn't want to cut ties with the person who made me feel understood. "It's complicated" meant I wasn't ready to let go of the emotional world I'd built outside my relationship. In other words, I had already chosen. I watched something in Mark break. Not loudly. Quietly. Like a door closing inside him. He didn't argue. He just stopped fighting for something I had already abandoned. He walked away without drama, like someone who finally sees the truth clearly. In the days that followed, reality didn't just sink in, it crushed me. I lost the man who truly loved me because I valued the feeling of being seen more than I valued loyalty. And Ethan didn't stay either. Not because he was heartless, but because no man wants to be the backup choice. That's when I learned the harshest lesson. You can lose two people at once. One because you betrayed him, the other because you never really chose him. I used to think emotional attachment outside a relationship was harmless. I used to think as long as nothing physical happened, it wasn't really betrayal. I was wrong. Emotional cheating can cut deeper because it gives someone else access to the most intimate part of you, your heart, long before anything physical ever happens. Weeks passed and Mark didn't reach out. No calls. No questions. No, "Do you regret it?" Just silence. And in that silence came his final message. "I could have forgiven the mistake. I couldn't forgive that you chose him. Today I'm alone, not because I'm unlovable, but because I didn't understand love when it was right in front of me. I thought love was intensity, feeling understood, constant emotional energy. But real love is showing up for someone even when things feel dull, even when they don't read your mind, even when attention isn't effortless. Real love is choosing your partner before you choose anyone else. Maybe if I had talked to Mark about what I felt instead of confiding in Ethan, maybe if I had protected my relationship instead of opening emotional doors somewhere else, this story would be different. When people ask what happened, I don't simply say I cheated. I tell them the truth. Emotionally, I stepped out long before I physically did, and that was the real betrayal. My biggest mistake wasn't the night I crossed the line. My biggest mistake was every moment before that when I should have chosen loyalty but chose attention instead. Because it was never complicated. I just didn't choose him. And now he doesn't choose me.